of a problem, of a conflict, of even a war can be reduced to one single entity. There may be experts who would argue that the cause of a problem is this, the reason of the conflict was that, the incident that from where the war began was this. But all of these causes, all of these reasons can be boiled down to can be boiled down to one single unit. They have to come back to that one entity, and that one entity, that one unit is man, is the human being, is the individual. Without really understanding who the individual is, what is the individual made out of, what are his principles, what motivates his action, all our efforts to solve problems, to resolve conflicts, or to bring peace are futile. We have to address the individual that is at the center of all problems, that is the root of all conflict. The individual is the last unit. When we come from the outside to the inside, outside being the war, the bigger geopolitical conflict, the organizations, the countries, when we come from this outside, from an organization to a country, to a department, to a unit, then to that one single entity, that last entity is the human being. And when we go from the inside to the outside, from the human, his own hatred, his own animosity, his own insecurity, hunger for power, greed, it is only from this single unit that every conflict, every problem actually spreads out of. It begins from this one unit. However way we want to look at it, from the inside to the outer, and from the outer to the inner, which means from the particular to the whole, and from the whole to the particular. We will find that we have to address, we have to come to the individual, we have to come to the human being. And so, what is this individual? Who is this individual which seems to be the cause of every conflict, which seems to have created all the misery, the havoc that we see in the world, the innumerable, the massive violence, the fights, the wars, all begin from the center of man, all begin from man's mind, from his consciousness. Is this individual, is this one single unit really singular in its nature? Is it a particular individual, or there is a tendency which makes him act in the way he acts? The individual, as long as he is unaware of the influences, the beliefs, the assumptions under which he operates, he will find that he may consider himself a separate entity, he may consider himself an individual. He is really not an individual, which means there is nothing really unique about him. There is nothing really outstanding about him. He is nothing but a piece, a subset of a larger conditioning, of a widespread programming that is running in all human beings. Having a separate body, having a particular name, a particular physical shape, a form, we think that all of these outward signs really make us an individual, an outstanding entity. But that really is not the case. If we look closely, we will find that this individual, this separate identity which we relate to, which we associate ourselves with, is simply a product of an environment. So, to call ourselves an individual would be not correct. We are simply a part of a conditioned whole. We are simply a fragment that is acting according to the influences that are impinged upon him. So, there is nothing really unique about this individual without really understanding how he functions, how he operates under assumptions, how his conditioning makes him act in different ways. Without getting to the bottom of his own motivations, the cause of his actions, there is nothing individualistic about any of us. We are simply a part, a product of our own environment. Unless we see how our inward beliefs, biases, prejudices shape the outward environment, shape the world, and then that world which is created from our own beliefs, which is there as a result of our own biases, ideas, notions, beliefs, that in turn begins to shape us. The conditioned environment, which was a result of our own inner state, begins to further condition us. And it is this to and fro reaction which we are a product of, and we function within this movement of the inner and the outer, the inner creating the outer and the outer again reacting on the inner. It is this continuous two-way interaction that the individual is subjected to. And so, how really is an individual a separate entity? We may believe to ourselves, we may believe that we are unique because of our cultural identity, because we have a name, because we have a physical form which is not similar to any other physical form. All of these things, these outward things, may make us believe that there is something different, unique about us, but we'll find that deeply we run on the same tendencies as the other does. We are in fact insecure, we are violent, we are fearful, we have animosity, we do suffer, and all our actions are simply to manage our suffering. All our actions are simply an effort towards security. We want something that would make us not suffer. And so deeply, there is nothing which really differentiates us. But does the individual really see that? Or is he simply too attached, too under the influences of his own geographical, cultural, educational conditioning? Are we too deeply associated with our environment, with our nation, with our country, with our gender, with our name, with our culture? This strong association with these outward things, symbols, with our language, conditions us into believing that we are really an individual. We really need to become an individual. As we are, our present condition, there is nothing individualistic about it. There is nothing indivisible, which is the root meaning of that word, indivisible, not divided. There is nothing indivisible about us. We are but a group, a melange of fragments. We are divided into innumerable parts. There is nothing authentic which binds us. There is nothing uniform about us. There is no harmony within. We behave separately. We act according to the space we are in, to the people we are with. We have certain beliefs that contradict other beliefs. At our work, in our office, we act a certain way. In our house, with our family, we act in a completely different way. We are rational, logical when it comes to our profession, but all that rational, all that logic simply subdues, simply is absent when it comes to our inward matters, when it comes to our relationships. We'll find that there is no rationality in our life, there is no intelligence when it comes to our inward matters. Are we really an individual? We may believe ourselves to be an individual, to be this unique identity, to be someone who is outstanding, who is separate, who is different, but that is really not the case. We are a product of our conditioning. We are fragmented within. We may think of ourselves as a good human being, as a kind human being, but if we look closely at our life, we are participating in violence in every other moment of our life. We may think we want good for others, but at the same time we are extremely self-centric. How can any of this result in any harmony in our life? We want to be alone, but at the same time we want to be with people. We want different things for ourselves at different points. We are deeply fragmented within, and each fragment simply pulls us in its direction, which basically creates an inner conflict. And this is our present conditioning. This is our present condition. This is who we actually are. We are not an individual. We are just as same as anybody, equally influenced, deeply conditioned, fearful, lonely, empty within, constantly finding entertainment, looking for excitement, and so on. When we really see, when we discover for ourselves that this feeling of being a separate individual, that this notion, this belief that we are a separate entity is an illusion. We do not exist separately from our environment. We are not different from our neighbor, and that neighbor may be just next door, or that neighbor may be in some other country. We are not different from that person. Seeing that for oneself, seeing how deeply, inwardly, we all have that same insecurities. We all have the same fears, the patterns in which we think, our yearning for pleasure, our resistance to pain, the hurt that we feel within, our suffering. All of this is the common ground of consciousness in which humanity stays. The one who really sees this for oneself is then an individual. They are then responsible. The care, love, compassion then is not simply restricted or limited to themselves. They care for the tree, they care for the human being, they care for nature, they care for the child, they care for the animal. Their love, their compassion then has no limitation, it has no boundary. It extends to everything, to the bird, to the flower. This is what is indivisibility really mean. To not separate oneself, to not isolate oneself in a corner and think of oneself as an isolated entity, as someone who is separate. This is what really means to be an individual. And it is this individual who is not divided within, who is not fragmented within, can really have an holistic view of life. Their action would address the human being totally. There would be no fragmentation in their actions, in their thinking. They will think holistically and not just for one group, one sect, one country, one gender, they would be concerned with the matters that concerns mankind. Such a human being is important because they have really transformed themselves. They see the foolishness, the utter illusion of a separate, isolated existence. The more we see that we are simply a physical form, just like the physical form of a tree, just like the physical form of an animal, the form of a bird, the form of a rock, the more we find that we do not really act in self-centric manner, to really see that no one form is superior to another form, that all forms are simply but a manifestation of matter in different appearances and nothing else. It is this understanding, this wisdom that has any uniqueness, that is really outstanding, and it is necessary for the human being to come upon this by themselves without having an integrated action, without having an integrated understanding of existence. All our efforts, all our struggle to bring peace, to solve problems, to resolve conflicts would only result in further problems, further conflicts, more violence. As long as we think as a separate individual who just simply believes that they are rational, that they can think logically, that they can solve problems with their intellect, that they can have a solution, a reasonable solution to the conflict that is in front of us, this simple assumption is not sufficient. It would only lead to misery. One has to understand who we are, why we behave the way we behave, why we use the words we use, why we act in a certain way in front of certain people, and we act in a different way in front of different people. How we are more likely to be attracted to the things that promise us pleasure, that promise us security. Can we see this bias within ourselves, the prejudices that we have? One really has to address themselves layer by layer. One has to be aware of one's every thought, every feeling. What is it that the body wants? What is it that the mind yearns for? One has to be sensitive to all the activity of the mind, how it deceives itself, how it has so many conclusions, and it simply looks for information, for reason to justify those conclusions that it already has, how it lies to itself, how it has a belief system which are really a bundle of assumptions, which has never really been examined, inquired, how one is really inwardly fragile, how psychologically we depend on so many things, people, relationships, our position, how all of these are simply our possessions that make us feel that we are something. Can we get to the bottom of this demand for psychological support, psychological security? One has to understand their reality. how we comfort ourselves through narratives, through notions, how our past conditions us, how all our ideas about what the world is are simply the information we that is already that already exists in our mind, which comes through our past, how our past constantly shapes our idea of today, which becomes our tomorrow. Do we realize this? Do we see all the information, all the data that is stored as memory simply modifies itself and becomes our present? Do we understand that? Without going into oneself deeply, thoroughly, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, action by action, the way we react to our environment. What do we see? What do we hear? Without understanding all of this, there is no individual. There is only a movement of the past which is simply repeating itself generations upon generation. We may be outwardly different, we may be technologically advanced, we may have sophisticated systems, we may have understanding of the world, physical world, which we did not have before, but inwardly we are stuck in a rut, in a rigmarole. Nothing really changes from within. Without seeing this for oneself, there is nothing indivisible within us which we can really claim. We have to get out of the clutches of our own conditioning, of our own social influences, the cultural norms, the common ideologies. Without understanding how deeply they hold us in our tracks, we cannot move out of the influences they have on us. Our life is simply an imitation. There is nothing original, authentic about us. We cherish, in fact, our conditioning because it is the only thing that we have, it is the only thing that we know. We are scared to lose it. When we are asked to question it, when we are asked to challenge it, to inquire into it, we are too afraid to do that. We say, why do any sane person do it? Because that is their own belief system, that is what gives them comfort, that is what gives them security. Why would anyone knowingly give up their security? Why would anyone voluntarily invite discomfort? But that is the thing, then we have to really see that the things that we believe give us comfort, give us security, are they really giving us the security we believe they are giving us? Are they really providing us that deeper comfort that we think they are providing us? Finding out, inquiring, challenging, questioning may shatter the notions, the ideas that we have presently, but at least we would not be living a lie. We would not be basing our life on false conclusions. This questioning opens up a door to a possibility of discovering something new, something authentic for ourselves. It is a chance, it is an opportunity for us to really face ourselves, to really come in contact to who we are, and not just hide behind our own ideas about ourselves, our own conclusions, notions that we have about ourselves. We have to see and come in contact to who we are, however petty, however selfish, however greedy, filled with animosity we may be. That is all right. We have to at least come face to face with the fact of who we are, because only then the fact can transform itself. There can be change without addressing, without really seeing for oneself what we actually are. There can be no change in who we are. We have to have this undivided quality within us, which doesn't separate, isolate itself from others, from the environment it is in, from existence itself. We are a part of existence. We are in existence manifested. Can we see that for oneself? Or are we too established, too crystallized, too secure with our own beliefs, with our own cultural identity, with the people who look like us, talk the language that we talk, behave the way we behave, have ideologies, have thoughts the way we think? Are we simply contented with this group identity? Can we not really find for ourselves something authentic, something that is alive, something that has any real meaning, that is worthwhile, that which is life itself? Can we come upon that? Our ideas of life, what we have made life, is not life. What we think life is, has absolutely no relation to what life actually is. We live in our own make-believe reality. We live in a self-created world. The world outside is simply our own creation. There is not a sliver of reality to it. Our habits, our norms, our routines that we are too accustomed with, we have made them the foundation of our existence. The very small things, the very minute, in fact negligible things of life have become the very source of life for ourselves. We take pride in our habits. We feel happy in our routine. The cultural identity that we derive from our environment, we are simply too proud of it. It is an imposed sense of security, it is an imposed sense of pride. We have simply posited value in it. They are in fact valueless. The things that we do, our ways, our habits, our routine, our cultural identity, they all are simply a product of the time that we live in and nothing else. The one who is too contented, too happy in quotes, too satisfied with the life they are living, with the family that they have, with their own traditions and cultural practices, they simply have turned away from life. They have faced the other way. We do not want to look, find out, inquire, doubt, question what we have in our hands. We are too afraid to lose it. We are simply too comfortable in it. And so we do not bother. We are not interested in finding out what life actually is, what is this existence all about, who we are. We are simply too satisfied, too relaxed with how things are. And that is, quite frankly, a dead way to live. We are static. There is nothing alive about our life. There is no freshness. There is no agility. We are hard. We are concrete. We are as tough as a rock. We don't move. We don't flow. There is no lively quality about us. We are not pliable. We are hardened with our own ideas, with our own lifestyle. They have made us stationary. We are immovable. We have become lifeless.